There's a trope in media that I can't seem to escape. Always being right.
Damn. Here we go again.
Now, inherently, this isn't a bad thing. It's honestly okay and encouraged to have a character use controversial means and out-of-pocket theory to solve a weird societal case that no one else can because they don't think the way they do. Eventually, after being right 100 times in a row, you ask yourself the question, why does no one believe them? No matter how many times their theories or unconventional ideas are the right thing in the end, the next time they find themselves in a similar situation, they call them crazy and think they're weird. You're weird! After the 80th time that Dr. House diagnoses a disease that no one thought was true, you'd think most people would be on his side. Not sure, is he morally always correct? No, of course not. That's kind of the whole point. He doesn't understand moral or societal standards, so he just does whatever he wants, which is not good, but in the context of the show, does he not solve the problem? Now, in particular, criticizing House for this is ridiculous because that's the premise of the show, but I'm still gonna do it because it doesn't make sense. And sure, they go around it some ways, like getting a new cast after a few seasons who can deny him and not believe him right away, because if you kept the same cast under him for the entire series, eventually they'd be like, all right, he's right, just do what he says. I don't even care anymore. Why did I go to med school? The only problem is after so many seasons, how are you as a viewer expected to enjoy the episode when you know 99% of the time he is correct? Yeah, he's wrong sometimes and he does the wrong things first, but eventually he figures it out. Like in this episode where the diagnosis was to subscribe right now. But this problem isn't exclusive with House. Many shows fall under the same issue. Now, it's a lot more typical in medical procedurals like The Good Doctor, which honestly does it way more egregiously than House. In The Good Doctor, we have our main character, a surgeon, if you didn't know. I am a surgeon! But he seemingly has this endless wealth of knowledge that he pulls out of nowhere and kind of just understands everything. Now, House is based off Sherlock, a lot of comparisons there, and Sherlock is also a big problem with this. He's always right, but that's his shtick, which is why I don't blame House for being, that offensive with it. But that show leans into the tropes compared to Good Doctor, which just completely neglects them. But moving on from these S-tier medical professionals, what are some other shows that fall into the same trap? I just realized this seat is getting progressively lower as I sit in it, so I'm just... Now this next one, you might not agree with, but Yoda in Star Wars. And honestly, every single wise old character in every movie and TV show, like Oogway, or actually a better example is the entire Kung Fu Panda series. Poe usually catches on and figures everything out by himself in his own weird way. And even in the fourth movie, Sifu still somewhat doubts him, even though he's caught on more than anyone in the entire history of Kung Fu in that universe. But fine, let's call this comedic relief. But going back to these wise characters, in almost every scene they're in, they're giving out some wisdom that is going to help the protagonist. And sure, they may not believe them right away, which they don't have to. It's kind of the arc of the character to learn that they were right all along. But supposedly, these characters have been around for a long time. So why wouldn't people just agree with them? Wow, I'm really just picking apart the exact point of the story is that you're not supposed to agree with them so they can learn. Okay, fine. Look, it is important for these characters to be looked over because that makes what they said so much more powerful when you realize they knew all along, or maybe their out of the norm way of figuring things out can inspire you as a viewer watching it, that you don't have to follow the status quo and fall in line with everyone else doing things their way. I just think in long-running TV shows and movie series, it ends up being boring, and the characters don't learn anything from their mistakes because they're never wrong. Like Hermione. They changed very specific parts in the movie to give her the dialogue and solutions instead of Ron. So Ron looks like he was always wrong and is stupid for doubting Hermione when she always has the answer, even though in the book, which don't get me started on JK, at least she allowed this character to have flaws in her thinking and not just have the solution for everything, which in the entire movie series, she does. And I could go on all day about the changes to characters, but let's wrap this up nicely. Tinkerbell. Okay, yes, that may sound confusing at first, but hear me out. About 2 weeks ago, me and my partner had nothing to watch after running through all the series we've been binge watching. But you know what they say, when you're at your lowest, you're open to the greatest possibilities. And that possibility was the Tinkerbell movies. We watched every single one in order, and hear me out. They're not terrible. I mean, I guess I have more nostalgia towards them because they were just on Disney Channel as I was a kid, so it was easier for me to get back into it and enjoy it. But throughout the series, which focuses on the fairy world and Tinkerbell coming into her own as a tinker and, I don't know, self-actualizing, but the real issue is with the society of fairies. She messes up a lot in the first movie, and eventually she fixes it all in a day. And then as the movies progress, she gets maybe some trust from the community to do the right thing, but they always doubt her, and they think that she's crazy for wanting to go into the Winterland with the winter fairies. She figures it out in like 3 seconds and can deal with it. If you know she's always going to be able to figure things out and have the best solution, why are you doubting her? Oh my god, I'm getting defensive over a fairy movie. So listen, is this trope gonna ruin whatever you're watching? Most likely not. I think it can be boring for characters like House and the Good Doctor to really focus on that for the entire series. And there are clever ways to get around this, like in the show Archer, which is a great satire for this trope, where he infers things with the same confidence as characters that are always right, but he's usually proven wrong. And to a lesser extent, Rick in Rick and Morty, who's always confident that he has the right solution and can outsmart everyone, but usually ends up learning that his answer isn't the best and only one. But I want to know what you guys think. Does it ruin the series for you? Do you actually enjoy how they're always right and everyone doubts them? Because, you know, that could be empowering in some way, I guess. Comment down below, subscribe to this video right now if you haven't already. Okay, good. And as always, thanks for watching.